So starting the dartless sleeve pattern, this design is on page 309. This is very basic. What we're doing is from the bicep level, we're just squaring off the rest of the sleeve. So we are only focusing on the information for figure 1. So you can stop after figure 1. Okay. So you're going to start off by cutting yourself a piece of paper. This piece of paper is 26 inches long. Remember to make sure the orientation of your paper is the direction in which we read for the characters, and it's 18 inches wide. So I'm going to start by putting a guideline at the center of my paper, and that will be for my grain line, and I'm using my L square. And I'm going to take my sleeve sloper for the basic sleeve. And I'm using the size 6 because this had the single dart. My size 8 had a double dart variation. So I'm going to match up my grain line at the top and bottom and just trace off my basic sleeve, making sure I mark my notches. Tracing the cap all the way down the wrist level. Marking my dart because I will go in and redraw my dart. My back notches. And I need to go in and mark my all points for bicep level, elbow level, and I've already marked my notch at the wrist and at the cap. So now I'm just going to kind of double check, and I'm going to mark a notch here for elbow level so I know where to go back in and draw bicep and elbow level. And I'm going to grab my L square. And go back in and draw bicep level and label it. Make sure you don't have a hatch line so that this continues. And I'm going to go in and draw my dart, my elbow. And I'm going to just label everything quickly. Wrist level. Next, I'm going to go in and I'm just going to square down from the bicep level. So I'm going to line my L square up here, either using the inside of the L square or the outside. And I'm going to create a right angle here. And just square down. Past my wrist level. At the front and the back of the sleeve. I am going to take my L square and at wrist level here on my grain line, which I'm going to label, I am going to square out at the wrist level, and it will cut through that wrist opening. which is slanted because we have an open dart here. So I'm going to square out this way. And square out this way. If this gets confusing, you can go in and erase all of your guidelines from the first sleeve. But this is our actual sleeve that we'll add the seam allowance onto. So I'm going to erase this here just so when I put my seam allowance on, I'm not confused. And so now this is our new wrist level here. And I'm going to go in and put seam allowance on. So our seam allowance for the underarm seam, we're doing a 1/2 inch. And at the bottom, I'd like for you to put a hem on this sleeve because you are likely to sew this one up. So we'll do a 1-inch hem. So 1-inch hem here. I'm going to mark on my pattern, so if I do sew it up, I'll remember how much hem allowance I gave. And 1/2 inch here. And the cap of the sleeve will get 1/4 inch. So starting here, 1/4 inch is my 2 blocks. I'm going to make sure that my corner here is at a right angle. And after I finish and complete my seam allowance, I'm going to label it. So this is the Dartless sleeve. I would like you to go ahead and put the Dartless sleeve onto oak tag. So this will be a block that you will need to notch and cut out. So you will transfer just the stitching line of this pattern onto oak tag, so without seam allowance. This is size, I'm actually doing size 6. You guys have drafted size 8. So this would be self 2. So 2 sleeves would be cut over my size. And I'm going to put my name or initials at the bottom. Okay, again, grain line is here in the center. And I'm going to continue with my 1/4 inch seam allowance at the cap. And then this is ready to be cut out.